Good morning. Oh, it's a better morning than that, man. Good morning. It really is a good morning. It's my pleasure to be back in Syracuse. Thank you, Anne Marie. Let me welcome the people who are with us today. We have from my left, Troy Wapner, the great director of the New York State Fair. We have to give him a round of applause. We have Kelly Cummings, who is the Director of State Operations, who gets everything done through pandemics, through storms, through everything. She's doing a great job. Pleasure to be with her. I'm going to move around a little bit because I want to say something about your electeds. We have Marie-Therese Dominguez, who's the DOT Commissioner, Transportation Commissioner. Pleasure to be with her. Let's give her a round of applause. Richard Ball, who's the Commissioner of Ags and Markets and Agriculture and Markets, runs the State Fair, and the Commissioner has brought a hands-on experience and years of experience where he has done a really phenomenal job in his position. Let's give him a round of applause. And to my right, Bill Magnarelli, and to my left, Al Sturpey, who need no introduction from me. You know the quality of elected officials they are. And you're going to hear from Bill and Al after my comments, but I just wanted to make a remark about them. This legislative session, which just concluded, was obviously a difficult one. These are difficult times, they're extraordinary times. Going through COVID, dealing with COVID, planning a reopening after COVID, making up for the damage done during COVID. It was the most challenging period in government, I think you could say, in modern history. Government didn't have to deal with a pandemic, right? It was something that you saw documentaries on pandemics, but government didn't actually have to manage it. And government at all levels was really under pressure, federal, state, local. And when the pressure is applied, if there's any crack in the foundation or in the stone and you apply pressure, then the foundation crumbles, the stone crumbles. Vice versa, when you apply pressure, you can actually solidify that which is strong. And this legislative session, more was done intelligently than probably any legislative session that I participated in, and that's from the budget right through the end. And it is not easy. It is not easy, especially now in this superheated political environment. You know, state of New York, we have the most conservative people in the country, in the state of New York. And that's their ideology, and they're represented in the legislature. We also have, at the other end of the spectrum, literally socialists who stand up and say, we are socialists. And they're at the other end of the political spectrum. And to get something done, you have to somehow find a way to forge consensus and to bring people together, even if they're diametrically opposed. And that's what Bill and Al had to deal with along with their colleagues. Also, superheated political environment, everybody has an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody knows what should be done, what should have been done. Everyone has 20/20 hindsight. But then there are facts, right? Opinions are nice. My father, God rest his soul, used to say, that's nice, I like to hear your opinion. He didn't really want to hear my opinion, but he used to say that just to sort of be nice. Yeah, but he said it in a way that you knew he didn't really mean it. Yeah, I like to hear your opinion. You know what I like more? Facts. I like facts. Because there are no Democratic facts and Republican facts, or there are no conservative facts or socialist facts. A fact is a fact. Here is the fact. New York State had the highest COVID positivity in the country, if not on the globe, okay? We had the highest rate of positivity. Why? Because COVID may have started in China, but COVID went to Europe first. And then the flights from Europe landed in New York. JFK Airport, New York Airport, and that tri-state region. And COVID was coming to New York before anybody knew it. Everybody was still pointing towards China. Forget China. It left China. It got on a plane and went to Italy and Spain and France, and nobody knew it, and all those flights were coming here for months. And that's why our COVID number exploded early on, because it had been coming for months and nobody knew it. Highest positivity in the country. You remember those frightening days. We've gone from that point to today, where New York State has virtually the lowest positivity rate in the United States of America. That is a fact. And that is what these gentlemen accomplished. That is a fact, and you can't argue with facts. So it's my pleasure to be with them, and you'll hear from Bill and then Al in a moment. Let me tell you where we are today. We are fighting on two fronts. We're managing COVID. Yes, we're doing well. It's not over. Don't deceive yourself and don't underestimate the enemy, ever. And at the same time, we're moving forward. We're reimagining, we're rebuilding, using this opportunity, this moment in time to make New York better than ever before. On the numbers, on the facts, it's amazingly good news. If you had ever predicted this, people would have thought that we were being overly ambitious. Where we are today is 0.4 positivity rate. Where we were in January, 7.9, almost 8%, from 8% to 0.4%. You look across the state, it is down all across the state, COVID. And there is a direct correlation. These are numbers, so there's a logic to it. The more people get vaccinated, the lower the positivity rate. The more people get vaccinated, the lower positivity rate. The more the vaccine rate goes up, the lower the positivity rate. And that's why we've been working so hard on vaccinations. We're now over 20 million. Our vaccination rate is 69.9% of New Yorkers. 69.9% of New Yorkers have gotten a vaccine. God bless the intelligence of the people of the state of New York. Now, the national goal is 70%. We're at 69.9, and we're going to hit 70. It's just a matter of time. And it is going to be cause for celebration, and we want to celebrate, but we want to remember what we are celebrating. 70% is a great milestone. The president set 70% by July 4th. As an optimistic milestone. Not all states will hit it, but we will reach it earlier than anyone thought. And in truth, our progress is much more advanced than anyone predicted. You had people in this state saying the economy is going to open in July, we'll start reopening in June, in September. No, we beat all those predictions. But it doesn't mean when we hit 70%, it's over. It means it's working. It means we're doing well. But it also means keep going. And that's what the celebration is going to be. It's not the finish line at 70, but we're coming around the last turn on the track. And we have to focus, and we have to know that we're doing well, but we needed one more push to really get vaccinated and get the COVID beast under control. So we're going to focus on those areas in the state that have the lowest vaccination rate because we know where they are. We track vaccination rate by zip codes. And we have 1,700 zip codes in the state of New York, if you were ever wondering. Nobody would really wonder how many zip codes there are in the state of New York, but Bill Magnarelli wonders how many zip codes there are in the state of New York. So now he knows there are 1,755. And if you look at the bottom 10% that are below 38%, okay? And the vaccination rate is 69%. So they're really much lower vaccination rate than the rest of the state. We want to focus on these zip codes. Zip codes are relatively small, so you can really get in there and focus an intensive effort. And I want local governments to pay attention to these zip codes. Get in there, go door to door, go to churches, go to social events, go to community events. These are the places where we have to target to get that vaccination rate up. And we are going to post this so all the local governments know these are the target areas. You want to increase the vaccination rate? Go to the lowest performing areas in the state and get them up. And you see they're all across the state of New York. But this is where local government should be focusing to make a difference. Also, focus on the demographics of who's lowest. Who's lowest? 12 to 17-year-olds. Why? Because they're 12 to 17. That's why. Because they are young and they are immune from everything. Also, remember when COVID started, it was all about older people. We weren't as focused on younger people. The mortality rate was not as high among young people. They weren't even eligible for the vaccine early on, remember. So they are a little bit late to the vaccine race, but we're focusing on the 12 to 17. And one of the incentives we have is 12 to 17-year-olds who come and get a vaccine. They are eligible for a raffle every week. The winners, 10 winners, win a full 4-year scholarship, room and board to a state school. That's about $100,000 value. So 12 to 17-year-old, you want to go to college, you're worried about how you're going to pay? Get a vaccine. It's good for you to get a vaccine anyway, and you're in the running. Parents, you're worried about how to pay for college? Tell your 12 to 17-year-old, get out of the house, go get a vaccine, say a prayer on the way back, and hope you win, because I don't want to have to pay your college tuition if you can get a full scholarship. Another reason to get a vaccine now, we are going to have a cooperative relationship with all public transit across the 6 upstate transit agencies. If you get a vaccine, you will get an unlimited 7-day transit pass. So you wouldn't have to pay for any commuting cost on public transportation for the week. And that is every upstate transportation agency is working with us on that. So Central New York Regional Transit Authority, if you get a vaccine now, you will get a 7-day pass. That's another good reason to get it done. On the second trajectory of recovery from COVID, a lot of damage was done during COVID. Unfortunately, a lot of people who are poor and lower income, they paid the brunt during COVID. You look at the children who had to do remote learning. You look at the children who are in households where they lost their jobs. They tend to be poorer, low-income communities. And we want to make sure that we're repairing that assistance. Beginning today, $2.2 billion in food assistance will be available to 2.5 million poor families in the state of New York, because we take care of our own, and everyone should have enough to eat. And I'm proud of New Yorkers for doing this. And we're looking forward to a great summer. This summer has to make up for everything we went through the past year. There's a lot of making up to do, a lot of socializing to do, a lot of friends to see, a lot of activities, because we have been in the house for too long. We've been in isolation for too long. We're not meant to be in isolation. We are social beings. We're meant to see friends and family and smile and enjoy activities, and that's what we have to do this summer. And we're going to start with the New York State Fair. We announced guidance for the New York State Fair. We announced guidance for the New York State Fair at a totally different time. At that time, the statewide positivity was 2%. It's now down to 0.4%. So we're going to revise the guidance. When the facts change, then change your strategy, right? And this has been an evolving, changing situation all along. So when the facts change, change. The facts changed. We're going to reopen the New York State Fair. We're going to reopen the New York State Fair at 100% occupancy. Everything will be open at the New York State Fair. All the buildings, all the events. It will be the great New York State Fair that we are all so proud of. I am so excited about this because the fair is such a beautiful representative of the state, and especially upstate New York. As you know, we've been breaking records every year in attendance. We made a great investment in the fair, and the fair is a different fair. Anyone who says, well, I went to the New York State Fair 4 years ago, 5 years ago, you didn't go to the New York State Fair. You went to the old New York State Fair, which is different than this state fair. It's improved, it's bigger, it's better, it's more convenient, there are more attractions. So we're not only reopening, we're reimagining. It's better than ever before. And we invite not only all New Yorkers, we invite people across the nation to come. The State Fair is not just a great event, it's also a great economic engine to bring the economy back. It brings in 1.3 million visitors, 28 states, 6 countries come to our fair. Isn't that fantastic? $100 million in economic activity. So we want to lean into this. We want to be aggressive about it. We want to advertise it. We want to push it. We want to say New York is not just reopening, we're reimagining. We're coming back in a big way. Get your vaccination, but enjoy the state of New York. And people say, well, you're a salesman for the state of New York. I'm a salesman for the state of New York. And I believe in the product that we have here in the state of New York. You want to go visit a place, I don't care what you want to do. You can do it in this one state. We have it all. We have the most advanced urban areas on the globe. We have the most beautiful rural areas on the globe, all right here in the state of New York. And upstate New York has been a hidden treasure. You know, you say New York internationally or nationally, people think New York City. No. That's part of our story. But we have beautiful upstate New York. That is still not been fully explored and fully discovered. I also think we have an opportunity. Because we have the lowest positivity rate in the nation, we literally go between the lowest, second lowest. You want to travel this summer? Then travel safe. And go to a place in a state that you know is safe from COVID, and that is the state of New York. So I think it's a special opportunity for us to market this year. And we're going to lean into this with our I Love New York campaign. We're going to advertise upstate opportunities in the I Love New York campaign. It's going to be a $40 million international campaign. It is probably the quickest way to jumpstart and reinvigorate our economy. by getting that tourism industry up and running. And we're very proud of what we have here in upstate New York. You put that together with the new advantage of our super low COVID positivity rate in the state, and I think it's going to be a natural tourist destination for people. We just have to get the word out. And that's what we're going to be doing with this advertising campaign. And I want to give you the first look at the I Love New York tourism ads that are going to run.
This year, more than ever, there's a lot to love about New York State. Come be a part of it. Plan your summer getaway at iloveny.com.
One more.
It's time to get out and explore New York State. Come be a part of it. Plan your summer getaway at iloveny.com.
Beautiful. So with that, let me turn it over to my colleagues, Bill Magnarelli and Al Sturpey, and let me thank them again from the bottom of my heart for a job really well done. Public service, you serve the public, and in this past year, the public needed quality service and leadership like they've never needed it, and they got it, and that's a fact. Bill Magnarelli.
Well, thank you, Governor Cuomo, for visiting us again here in Syracuse, in the town of Geddes, in the 129th Assembly District, the greatest district, the greatest district.
Who's the assemblyman in the 129th district?
And thank you to everyone for being here today. It's good to see people live and in person and without masks. I'd like to make a few acknowledgments right now. Central New York Regional Transportation Authority CEO Brian Schultz is here. Visit Syracuse President and CEO Danny Liedtke. President of the Central New York Area Labor Federation, Anne Marie Tellericcio. And former president of our Syracuse Common Council and good friend to all of us, Van Robinson.
Yay! And his better half.
And his better half. Hi, Linda. How are you? And representing just some of the fan favorites, I want to thank the food vendors and exhibitors who are here with us today. Our great New York State Fair would not be the same without them. Well, summer is almost here. It's hard to think about where we were just a year ago today. The last year has been painful for all of us. For our own safety, we couldn't gather with our friends and family. Sadly, that meant no in-person attendance at the iconic New York State Fair. We went from record attendance of over 1.3 million here for the State Fair in 2019 to 0 in 2020. It was painful, but necessary to keep everyone safe during the pandemic. The New York State Fair never stopped its programming during this time. They connected with the community through virtual events. But nothing beats being able to visit these great fairgrounds in person. Between testing and vaccination sites, like the ones here at the State Fairgrounds, Governor Cuomo made sure our community got what we needed to make it out of this pandemic. And I want to say something personally. Make no mistake about it, he was the leader in this pandemic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, the end of this painful period is in sight. We can begin to focus on healing and getting back to our lives. We can look forward to food, farm exhibits, and of course, the annual butter sculpture, all live and in person. This will be vital to our recovery as we finally begin to put COVID behind us. Recovery will be a long road, but thanks to our partnership, we've set New York up for success. We work together to pass one of the hardest and most important budgets we've ever done. And at the end of this session, when our communities needed it the most, we worked together to deliver real results for New Yorkers across the state. Thank you, Governor, for your leadership and partnership. I look forward to our continued work together in building back a better New York. Thank you.
Beautiful. And Assemblyman Al Sturpey, who, again, as you know, from his local leadership, is a great representative. But in these difficult times, his voice has been powerful all across the state. And he has stood up and fought the good fight through this difficult political year, and we all owe him a debt of gratitude. Al Sturpey.
Thank you, Governor. Ooh, am I on? Hello? There we go. It really is an honor to be here today for this important announcement. I mean, the New York State Fair is so important to this region's identity and economic well-being. We're all anxious to get back to some semblance of normalcy as safely and as soon as possible. Thanks to Governor Cuomo's leadership, we're almost ready to close the final chapter on COVID. Today's announcement means more than getting back to normal. It means healing for this community. It means something to look forward to. And we certainly look forward to the excitement we saw 2 years ago when the New York State Fair saw record attendance. The State Fair is a summer tradition that generations have cherished, a special time with family and friends, celebrating the joys of community and time spent together. But this is just one step in a longer recovery. More than ever, New Yorkers are counting on their governments to deliver real results. And thanks to our partnerships, we're getting it done. This budget was the hardest one our state has ever seen, but we worked together and got it done. And at the end of this session, we worked together to set New York up to recover and rebuild. Together, we can ensure strong recovery for communities across the entire state. Once again, thank you, Governor, and I look forward to our continued partnership.
Thank you. Thank you, Al. All right, so the message is clear. We know what we have to do this summer. Block out the State Fair. X that out in your calendar. We know what we're doing during the State Fair. And then plan a trip in the state of New York, because you want to be safe. So plan a trip in the state of New York. Well, I'm already in New York. No. We have many facets in New York. When was the last time you put the family in the car, you took them to New York City? Or the North Country, the Adirondacks, or the Finger Lakes, or Western New York? See your state. Enjoy your state. Help your state, and be safe while you're doing it. Thank you, and God bless you. I'll be back for the press. Okay, Emery. Pleasure. Everything good? Thank you. Okay, let's take a couple of questions.
Governor, how will the New York State Fair look differently? We heard your presentation that it will be more normal than initially planned, but vaccination requirements, any kind of limits to some of the buildings, anything different from what people are used to?
100%. We're going to encourage social distancing, spacing where we can. We are asking unvaccinated New Yorkers to wear a mask, but that is on the honor system as a New York State person. So unvaccinated people wear masks, but otherwise it will be the fair, as you know the fair.
Will there be, I guess, continued looking at the numbers if the spike comes back or something like that? Obviously, you're going to...
Yes, 100%. Good question, good point. Normally you set a policy and then that's the policy. And if you change the policy, people then say, oh, you changed the policy, you must have made a mistake when you set the original policy. In this situation, rigidity is an encumbrance. If the facts change the policy, right? And as the facts change, we change. Right now, the facts are all better and better and better than we thought. We're ahead of what anyone projected in terms of progress. So we're adjusting to the facts. If the facts turned around, God forbid, which is possible, variants that people are talking about, the Delta variant, this variant, if God forbid something happened, then we would adjust to that. But we don't see that at all as a possibility that we have to worry about now. So, but of course, if something happened dramatically, we would adjust to it. Troy, Commissioner Ball, if you want to comment on first question, will the fair look any different? I said besides masks, no.
For the most part, it'll look exactly the same, except bigger and better than ever before. And, I think it's what the governor said, it's important, that people of Central New York and New York State really look forward to coming to the fair. I think this was the expectation, and we got there, and that's the most important thing going right now, for me at least.
Is an attendance record the goal again?
Absolutely. I think anytime you can keep drawing more and more people here, we are going to 18 days, but we don't rest on our laurels. We've been taught not to rest on our laurels around here. So, we're definitely going to go for records when we can get them.
Will the Expo Center continue operating as a vaccination center during the fair?
I think that's something that we continue to look at in the numbers, and certainly if there's another, we can certainly keep a vaccination site running, but there may be a different building or a different room on the fairgrounds that makes more sense.
Governor, to maybe reach the younger youth that you identified still might have that hesitancy to get vaccinated right here at the state fairgrounds, perhaps?
Yes. I think as Troy said, we use every opportunity to push vaccinations, right? We've gotten quite creative, as I think you probably noticed. The partnership today with transit agencies, the ability to get a scholarship for 12 to 17-year-olds. The 12 to 17-year-olds, I don't think, there are different issues. There is a hesitancy issue, but I don't think that's the 12 to 17 problem. The 12 to 17 problem is, this is relatively new. Remember, they were only eligible several weeks ago for the vaccine. And they were never on the radar screen as a population where we had a high concentration and a high concern rate. So it's really communication, if anything, to the 12 to 17, who have been in many ways exempted thus far. And they do have an attitude that government suggested for the past year, that this is not a problem of particular concern to them. And we are changing the message because they were not the first priority, but we're now beyond the first priority, and it is about them. So I think it's more a communication issue, an education issue. It's not a hesitancy issue. We have a hesitancy issue. You know, you have 20, 25% of the people in this state who just will not take a vaccine, who don't believe in it, who are afraid of it, who don't want to take a needle. Some people don't believe in vaccines, period. Remember, we had this issue with the measles vaccine a couple of years ago. People who are just anti-vaccination, who don't believe in it. And it was a very loud and controversial issue. We have people who didn't put their child in school because of the mandate for a measles vaccine. And they're homeschooling their children to this day because they won't take the measles vaccine. So there's a real percentage of the population that just is anti. Then there's a hesitant sort of fringe population, which I think has been taking a wait-and-see attitude. And what I say to them is, I understand that. You don't want to be first. Okay. 20 million people have gone. You're not first. That's a large sample of people. And that hesitancy is an ongoing dialogue. Why are you hesitant? You're not dramatically opposed or diametrically opposed, but you're still hesitant, you're on the cusp. So there's sort of subgroups within that 30% of New Yorkers. But the 12 to 17, I think, I don't think it's really hesitancy or opposition. It's just, this is news. This is new to them.
Governor, the DOT commissioner at the table inspires this question. There's a real divide in this community about the future of Interstate 81. You've allocated money in the budget for the project most recently. The people who are against the boulevard accept now that a boulevard grid concept will happen, but still have hopes that there's some high-speed access through downtown. Iconic bridge is now the term they're using and hoping for. Would you and the commissioner update us on I-81? We know it's being reviewed by the federal government, but is it indeed that high-speed access will leave downtown Syracuse?
Commissioner, do you want to take this?
Sure. I think that, as you know, we've driven an incredibly robust process here with regard to the environmental review that we've been undertaking and looking at all of the alternatives, multiple alternatives here for the I-81 project. And we've held hundreds of meetings here in the downtown Syracuse area, but all of the surrounding neighborhoods and communities. And what you're seeing now is all of that input into a, working towards a final environmental review. And we are very much engaged with the Federal Highway Administration at USDOT to look to come back, hopefully sometime this summer, as early as this summer, with additional public engagement to look towards a final EIS here sometime very soon. Recognizing that a lot of good ideas have been put on the table. The community grid is indeed a very robust plan, and as we look to further public engagement, we'll take everything.
Excuse me one second, can I just comment on that? You're right, obviously. I understand the history of the issue. I understand the division on the issue. I understand the complexity. Think about this also, though. It is virtually impossible to find a circumstance where you can undertake a major project that will make a major difference. That is not controversial. It doesn't happen. Almost by definition, if it is a big project, there's going to be opposition. The question is, what does the political system do in the face of lack of consensus, let's call it? The political system runs by consensus. Politicians want to make everybody happy. I want you happy, I want you happy, I want you happy. Well, you can't find a solution to make everybody happy. Okay, then I'll do nothing. That's what this state, that's what this nation has done for too many years. You know what happens? Nothing. That's what happens. Nothing. You sit here and you'll debate the best option for I-81 and how do we find consensus. You cannot find consensus. I've never done a big project that had consensus. LaGuardia Airport in New York City. Everybody says, an embarrassment to the state of New York. We need a new airport. We're now building a new LaGuardia Airport, first new airport in the country in 25 years. There's opposition to the new airport. Why? Local community doesn't want it. Who wants this? Who wants that? Who doesn't? The planes are dangerous. There's going to be political opposition. New replacement for the Tappan Zee Bridge, debated for 30 years. Buffalo, they talked about building a peace bridge to Canada, new peace bridge. They debated it for 20 years. They couldn't get consensus. They never built the bridge. So the commission has done a great job consulting everyone. But sometimes it's not a question of consulting. You can understand everybody's point of view. You just can't get everybody to the same conclusion because they have a different interest, right? Depending on where you live, you're going to have a different interest. So then the question is, do you do nothing or do you do something? And something is usually better than nothing. But you do your best to find consensus, and that's what they're doing. I want to make sure Commissioner Ball didn't have any comments on the fair, any misstatements that I made, anything you want to add to myself or Troy?
No misstatements.
Thank you.
But I do want to just mention, to your point about young people in the fair and vaccination sites, you know, we have an opportunity to talk to, the last time we had a successful fair, 1.3 million people in one place. And we have to take advantage of those opportunities to connect the dots. And the state fair is such a great example of connecting the dots between our agricultural community, our young people, about so many things. So I think we really want to drive that point home, that this is an opportunity to educate them.
Along those lines, Governor, and getting back to you, Pat, what are you going to say to people? Because we can say these facts, and there's still going to be people that say, I'm not going. People have told me, I'm not going to the fair. To encourage, I mean, some of the zip codes that you went up there showed significantly higher non-vaccination rates up in the central New York area, certain pockets. What would you say to people that say, oh, there's going to be unvaccinated people there, it's dangerous, I'm not going?
Get a vaccine. If you get a vaccine, you don't have to worry about unvaccinated people because you have the vaccine. I am vaccinated. You may not be vaccinated, but you don't pose a risk to me because I am vaccinated. So if you are vaccinated, what are you worrying about? Now the only question is the effective rate of the vaccine, which is 80, 90%, whatever it is. So if you're concerned about that, get a vaccine. Well, there'll be unvaccinated people. That's their problem. They have to worry about catching COVID, not you. Let's take one more. I cut you off, I'm sorry.
Okay, vaccination status is not going to be checked, like when you're getting your ticket at the door.
It will not be checked, but I think during this period of COVID, people have acted honorably and graciously and with integrity. If you're not vaccinated, there will be signs that say, wear a mask if you are not vaccinated. And I believe people will respect that. And I believe the overwhelming number of people will have been vaccinated. And again, if you're vaccinated, it's not really an issue for you whether or not the other person wears a mask. It's only an issue for the unvaccinated. That's why I say, don't be unvaccinated. It's not that simple, it's not that hard a riddle to solve. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Shutting down big vaccination sites like the one at the fair at all? I mean, are you looking into that? They're empty like most of the time.
We are doing that as we speak because the demand on the vaccines is much lower. So obviously, when you get to 69, 70%, the population that is coming in is much, much lower. So we have vaccine sites that only have a trickle of people, and we're closing those sites because there's no demand, there's no volume. No, there's no plans to close the one.
We may downsize it a little bit, but obviously we believe there'll be demand during the fair to have it, and we will keep it open until then. It may not be in the expo center, as Troy said, but we're reviewing that now. We expect to have one.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well done.